Welcome to the Cosmic Prayer. My name is Laura Topper, and I'm really excited and grateful and feeling blessed to be here this week, centering into this broadcast, this very special broadcast. We have an amazing super guest here today, sharing his light and his wisdom and his love for those of us that are ready to hear and to accept and experience and allow into our lives. So if you're here right now, you are tuned with Media Network, a Center for Spiritual Living global focus ministry. We share every single day, sharing programs, broadcasts, all sorts of wonderful things to bring us back to that knowing of truth, the remembrance of who we are, to awaken our hearts. And today, our special guest, yes, very exciting. He is an author. Well, he's an energy virtuoso. I just love that. That's so beautiful. An author, a guide for advancing the advanced and transforming transformation into the for healing and awakening. And his book, Harmonize, All of You with All, is a book of 550, not 550, over, I'm sure, 50,000 hours of listening and being present and being willing to receive the information and the knowledge from the divine, whatever it is that we call this, as it has come through him. And he shares this with the world, with all the work that he does in the world. So Artie Vipperla, PhD, I'm just so grateful and blessed that Artie has said yes to being here on the Cosmic Prayer today and to share his world. Thank you so much, Artie, for being here. It's so great to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Laura, and giving me the opportunity, privilege, honor, joy of being here with you and what you've created in this global community for such an inspired purpose and good time. So look forward to having more fun with you.
Oh yeah, is what it's all about. And you know, who said prayer is boring and spiritual practice is boring? And yet I know there's a journey always attached to this when we open our hearts and say yes to being the receivers and the transmitters of light. It's not always an easy adventure, is it? We know that we have to do this because this is our mandate here on planet Earth. And I'm really intrigued by your journey and your yes for listening so deeply for so long and then sharing what you know with others. And I wonder how prayer has guided you and been a foundational piece for you, if at all.
Yes, well, I could tell some stories, and maybe it'd be good if I do, because a lot of people they want to hear the story, right?
Oh yeah,
But I'm also a guy who likes to
love
put
stories.
the end at the beginning. So, start with, where do you want to end up front? That's like I imitate the Bible. Beginning, begin the Kabbalistic understanding of the first phrase of the Bible. Begin every moment creating spirit on heaven and earth. And for me, prayer, a word that we have taken from Latin that has its roots in an idea similar to begging, is an approach that in the tradition of the original Bible and also Jesus, who's famous for saying, ask and ye shall receive. The whole idea begins with a word that means to question oneself. The idea being, God doesn't need to be informed about what you want to need. But given that our gift is a tinge of the divine, which means we are creators, and we can only be co-creators to the degree that we're free. With our free will, unless we open, there's no way for what the gifts are to pour in. So prayer in hitbodedut, the Hebrew word, means to question so as to open yourself. So anytime we ask, anytime we turn to pay attention, but especially when we turn to pay attention to the ways we've turned away, becomes particularly fertile openings to receive anew or as never before. So I've had a number of junctures in my life where that kind of thing has gone on. And I trace the most prominent, most impactful ones when I came back from the Vietnam War. I had been drafted in and told that with my background as a Harvard economics graduate with fluent in French and German, I should go into area studies, which turned out to be a lie. Is a cover name for espionage. And I was sent into Vietnam as an undercover spy and found out that the official doctrine about the war, we're there to win hearts and minds, was completely, well, in Army terminology, bullshit. That it was all about brute force and mass murder. And I came back having to face the reality that I would be complicit in this the rest of my life. And whatever I would do about that, if I didn't kill myself, would need to be some way that I take up this challenge. And I don't know how the idea got into me. I wasn't praying exactly, but I was turning to pay attention to the most painful, difficult, upsetting, perplexing, imaginable situation. I've been cut off from all the people I grew up with. I was estranged from my culture, from my country, from my roots as a patriotic Harvard liberal, who knew my government was shot through with lies and everything else. What the hell was I going to do? And finally, after some months of crying and writing in my journal, the words came: dedicate this life to discovering how one man can help contribute to a culture that makes war outmoded. And I've been on that quest ever since. I wasn't always able to say those words, but now at 77, looking back after 50 years, I can see, that's what I managed to do. And I managed to do, as I look back, I realize every step has been guided. How did I know to ask that? How did I know to turn? How was I able to face that? How was I able to come up with such an answer? It's all inspired. I didn't think that up. I didn't manipulate that with my mind. I was always very smart, not Einstein, but I was always very smart, above average. But I couldn't think that up. That had to come like a revelation. And when I did the study for Congress to put PTSD on the map after getting a PhD in clinical psychology, that path was inspired too, guided. And when I wrote the first book to put trauma and healing with transformational processes in 1985 and got an award from a Catholic agency for affirming the highest human values, 1985, that was inspired. And when I wrote at the end, it's time to bring healing from war to the veterans of life, and that will take all of us living in joy, singly and together. But I had to end the book because I didn't know how that would happen. And then 30 years later, I got up from my morning devotions of meditation, yoga, energy healing, body, breath work, and everything else. And I'm moving in a way that I could tell by then I was psychic enough that I could read energy quantitatively. My energy was doubling in minutes. I felt delicious. And for the first time ever, I found something that was reducing what had been a very humbling discovery. 40 years after the war, when I got psychic enough, I had discovered that all the work I had done on trauma reduced symptoms, but left some underlying trauma unchanged. When I got up that morning of my 67th birthday, I found that the underlying energy of trauma was reducing for the first time in my life. That was 10 years ago, and I've been working these 10 years to hone, practice, beta test, harmonize, how to harmonize all of you with all, the name that came, and the book and the course that I'm giving and my website. It's all guided. I didn't know how to do any of this. I came out of semi-retirement in my late 60s to learn how to, make videos, do a blog, all this stuff. It's totally improbable. In Spanish, gracias a Dios. So you got a little bit of the flavor every moment. Yes, as you said in your opening sort of grounding exercise before we went on, Laura. Every word is prayer. Every time we turn genuinely to invite a fresh moment, that has
Mhm.
its implied, please, help, thanks, to sources of higher knowing and being that we don't contain, possess, or package, but have to open ourselves to
Right.
every newly. So that is my not so brief riff on prayer.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's what we love here. Hear your stories, and I affirm that there will be more stories, conversation, because we want to get to know and the work that you do and how this work has really changed your life. Also, I'm just really interested as you're speaking. You were drafted into the Vietnam War, and that piece before that, growing up, had you come from a religious was there religiosity in your background, in your family? Was prayer a part of life for you, or being devotional? Was that a part of your life growing
Well,
up?
I went to synagogue with my parents and my grandmothers. I heard her stumble through the prayers, that she couldn't quite say. And I did have an ark that I made in my little workshop downstairs for the small Torahs that we got on the special holiday for the Torahs that I would sometimes go to, but it wasn't anything formal for me. And by the time I became teenager, I thought the rabbis were all full of it, and all this religion stuff
Yeah.
was total nonsense. And I became a complete
Yeah.
materialist. I was interested in ham radio and science and maybe going to MIT, not Harvard. So the revelations of spirituality didn't come to me till after the war, when in the midst of my tears and my utter misery and depth of despair about what I was going to do, I I realized two things. I had gone to a counseling office in a YMCA near the train station in New York where I was going to come to join the revolution, right? And I went in there and I told the guy as the head of the office, I want to work here. I want to work with people and help. He said, who are you? And I told him my background. He said, can you prove any of this? I said, yeah, I pulled out all my papers. And all the other people working in this office were students at the Protestant seminary in New York City. And I had to wonder, what am I doing with all these Godheads? What am I doing hanging around with these people? What do I have in common with them? But one morning, it came to me that I got up. Why am I getting up? Whatever do I have to get up for? Given everything that's happened and what I'm drenched in, complicity in mass murder for life, cut off from all my friends, not knowing what to do, crying every day like I'd never cried in my life. What? And I realized I don't get up for any reason. I get up out of something that has to be called faith. That the force of life in me is more powerful than anything I can think, know, pin on, identify, and that lives in me. And I was all struck. And I realized, that must be what's called spirit. That was the seed of seeds for me in my adulthood.
Mhm.
So that's my background.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for sharing. Thank you for explaining that. I was just wondering what kind of spiritual influence you'd had, purely because of the immensity of what you are doing and what you have been doing, and the way that you have changed consciousness around PTSD and helping so many people to realize the truth of who they are. Because I noticed on your website and from looking at the way you work, that you work with people individually
Individually and
rather
in
than in
groups.
groups.
I also do groups.
Oh, and
I
in
am
groups.
gonna
Okay,
and I'm doing more and more
you do.
groups. But always the message is harmonize all of you with all is a revelation. It's the shift of shifts, what transforms transformation, to bring people into realizing who you are as divine, cosmic, uniquely invaluable heavenly messenger, not as a thought, a belief, or a hope, or an ideal, but as an
Yeah.
experience, what you can feel concretely, so that you can actually embody, experience, and exude this energy that allows you, people who are ready, willing, and able, to have a historic
Hmm.
impact on global healing and grow your own
Yes.
personal and professional impact like compound interest. How come? Because the shift of shifts brings us out of the mainstream, now 1,000-year-old civilization that has us packaged as individual entities here to fit in, denying our ultimate
Hmm.
nature from before conception and after death as divine, cosmic, uniquely invaluable heavenly messengers, not as a thought or belief, but as a capacity to realize that every quantum
Hmm.
and cell in us is the living cosmos, Mama Cosmos. One little great bit of quantum science, it's not yet mainstream. One of the great cosmologists of the 20th century pointed out that the quantum is not just dumb, numb, dead stuff, unintelligent, unfeeling, without life. Every quantum echoes the findings, the original intuitions, the God of gods of the Greeks and Romans. Naked, blind,
Yes.
infant archer. How so? The quantum? Naked, can take on any guise. Blind, indiscriminate like justice. Infant, always new. Archer, action at a distance. Every quantum connected, entangled with every other one in the cosmos. That's our essence. We are already the
Hmm.
cosmos. So to come into harmony with that in a way that's physical, soulful, and spiritual restores our immense powers, each of us individually, to be the harmony we want to see and feel on this earth.
Yes.
That's our mission.
And we have to be
This,
ready for that, don't we? At whatever level
yes,
we desire to experience that for ourselves, we have to be
yes,
to there are
yes,
changes that are, that need to be made. And
yes.
so it's easy for people, it's easy for all of us to say, I want a change here, or I want to see a change here on this
Mm-hmm,
planet right now. I want to
mm-hmm,
see no war. I want to see no hurting. I want to see full on accept human.
mm-hmm.
And yet we're all individually, we have to make that change within ourselves, don't we, for that to be our world.
Yeah, it's always a dance between what do we have to do and what is the already natural, most wondrous yearning living in all of our hearts. And for some people, it's much
Right.
easier to contact that than others. But harmonizing helps guide people beyond the first, the quantum discovery that is so already synchronous with ancient spiritual teachings is all is energy. Energy is action. There are no things.
Yes.
A statement by that great British thinker, Alfred North Whitehead, in 1929. There are no things. Everything that we think of as a thing is a fiction, a useful fiction, but it's not real in a sense that a quantum is real. That is, it can be validated empirically. So all is energy. Energy is action. Action goes through a sequence, like in time, and has a pace, which is its space that it takes up, and it has some kind of configuration or pattern. And what we're all schooled to in current civilization is that the sequence of action is from an antecedent cause to an effect to another cause. It goes through like this. And the space is, three-dimensional. And so our space, that we take up here, we think, feel, act, and desire, we rush as fast as we can, and we deal harshly most with ourselves. And we have some action that is, force it, make it happen. And our desire is, often numbed, or, I want what I want. The pattern is rectilinear, like mechanic, like most people walk. They're in a refrigerator with their arms and legs swing like they're on hinges. The discovery of harmonizing came to me after decades of all kinds of subtle work, where the path of action is first you do something, you breathe, but then you have to allow breathing to come on its own so that you can welcome utterly effortlessly in the expression of the greatest power, which is blessing. That's the seventh day of Genesis, understood Kabbalistically. Not just what God did long time ago, but you make the finishing touch of everything. Give up all effort, bless and make holy. That's the instantaneous self-creating of all blessedness. In the East as well, Lao Tzu, the ultimate power is non-doing. That's what you see in martial arts like Tai Chi that move like this. You need to practice the utter effortlessness so that eventually, if you need it, great power can come, but it's no force is left in it. As for the space of it, when you go from doing, allowing to welcoming, how you think, feel, act, and desire change from rushed, harsh, forceful numbness into easy, flowing, graceful pleasure. And eventually, I'm saying a lot here, wise, loving, potent joy.
Yeah.
You manifest the energy of an elder, whatever your age. As for the ultimate pattern, it's no longer rectilinear. It's like all energetic fullness. Giving is receiving. As above, so below. Whatever goes around comes around. I am that I am. The reciprocal recursiveness of those phrases is also the give and take of dialogue, where it's not just two one-way streets, but my listening to you has you move me to respond in a way that channels this back to you. And so we are like this. So to be able to move like this, where we restore the original movement. Oh, do I have it here? Yeah. How we move when we're infants. We learn to crawl. Right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. The middle of the chest makes a figure eight. And who cares about a figure eight? Well, it's the cross section. Yeah, here. It's the path of energy through every energy field, including us. Every energy field is, as Einstein discovered with curved space and time, is a fat bagel. It's a torus end-to-end, a cylinder end-to-end with an infinitesimal hole. Cut it down from the middle and the top, you get two circles side by side. We're configured this way too. It's how all creating happens, out of, by means of, into more of itself, this way. So the pattern, pace, and path of harmonizing naturally synchronizes with how every energy works throughout the cosmos. You restore the basic harmony of all it is every time you enter into this practice. And so how my life has changed, I already said it. I came out of semi-retirement at 67, and I'm helping to launch a world movement. So where do I get the chops and energy for that?
You are
Harmonizing.
harmonizing the divine, and you're so inspiring, and you've been so inspired, and I'm feeling that what you went through, that experience in the Vietnam War, where you saw so much and were moved by so much, that for many people, they would come away from that feeling completely completely desolated. You did.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you listened. And I love that that's written on your, I think that for me, I'm picking up that listening is your, I mean, you listen for 50,000 hours to be in stillness and to be aware and to be awarefully aware of what is coming through and what is. That is, I think you're not launching a movement. I think you've launched it already. You've done it.
I'm sharing with those who are ripe, ready, willing, and able to join in, like the way you pick this up. I talk for a little bit and you get it. So whether you'll actually do the practice depends on whether I can say something further, which is when we're raised to fit in, we do something we're not aware of. We
Yes.
close protectively. We don't just close our thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. We close from before we even can think and speak. And we carry that, and I can pick it up energetically now from getting psychic enough. Even very enlightened and beautifully inspired people can walk around with an underlying stiffness that only becomes apparent to them if I put them on my treatment table and I very gently touch somewhere, and they can see that if I touch a shoulder, the whole chest moves like that. How come? How come it's not just what I touch? Well, because it's all stiff and rigid. It's not an it, that's you. You stiffen habitually to close, protectively, defensively, saying it's not safe here. It's not just the body. The body is a useful fiction. This is all you doing what you know how to do. Bring the mineral, plants, animal, and heavenly energies into concretizing as a physical being, but they're not just dumb dead cells. That's every one of them knows who it belongs to is you. How do you reach into every
Yeah.
cell of you so that the prayerful, ever new opening happens thoroughly? That's the secret to the energy power of harmonizing. You're able to heal the trauma of traumas all the way in past what you can see and think, down underneath what you can feel, and through into all your tissues. You with Louise Hay, you get into you get the issues in your tissues. That's one of her favorite phrases, I remember.
Love it.
Harmonizing brings the prayerfulness into every cell of you, not as a thought, a belief, or mere awareness, but as an invited, allowed, welcome breathing that breathes, moves, and fills you with vibrance till you experience your overflowing boundless and your moment to moment temporalizing of eternity into every cell. That's the crucial addition here. So it's not just top down, managed
Yes.
from my
No.
awareness or instruction or words, but a felt experience through and through. Oh, thank
And
you for Laura
I'm
for letting me
so,
spin all this out.
oh, and I please keep going. We have time here. This
Ah,
is so great with super guest today, Artie Vipperla, PhD, more than
Vipperla,
PhD.
Vipperla,
Uh,
Vipperla,
Vipperla, I'm
Vipperla.
sorry.
Yes,
It
it's
sounds very
okay. It's
Italian.
okay. Oh, yeah.
Vipperla.
Hmm.
Artie Vipperla. Artie's going to just show his book right now
Yes.
before I get on to the next piece, which I'm going to talk about. Harmonize all of
Hmm.
you with all. What a beautiful title. And this is the essence of life, I would say. Our mandate is to get back to remembering who we are. Harmonizing all of
Yes.
you with all. That's on your website. Your
Hmm.
website is written here.
It's the
Harmonize
same
all of
title,
you with all.
Harmonize
People
all
just
of
go
you
and
with
check.
all.com.
Perfect. Go and check that out now. The book is there. You can read Artie's really immense story is happening and why he does what he does, what inspired him to really launch this movement that he has already launched, I say. And so I just want to talk a little bit more about breathing as a prayer, breath work as a prayer, but not breath work, connecting with the breath as prayer, because I'm picking up that you really use.
I prefer breath blessing, going from breath work where you and breath are separate
Breath.
and you're working on it to get a certain effect,
Yes.
to
Working
entering
on it.
into
Yes.
the bless by being blessed by breathing. Breathing is the breath of God in the Bible. It is, the word for breath is spiritus in Latin. It's pneuma in Greek. It's atman in Sanskrit. These are all words for spirit. Breathing is the inspiriting of us by what is ultimately boundless, cosmic. The rhythms are all cosmic. The flowing of expansion and contracting. This is omnipresent throughout the cosmos. So the expansion of light, the contraction of gravitational force in matter, these are always in a harmonic dance, and they dance in and through us, which you can only begin to experience as you go from the usual mode, we got to do things, that's action, I got to do behavior, to surrendering that enough that you allow and welcome. Like somebody knocks at your door, you open, you have to do something. and if you know them and they're safe, you step aside and allow them to and enter. And if it's really right, you welcome. And you welcome their being welcome. Always welcoming is reciprocal. You can only welcome what welcomes you
Yes.
or who welcomes you. So welcoming, the welcoming of
And the breath
breathing,
is the way.
yes, transforms breathing from some
Yeah.
autonomic function to the gifting of spirit and life that you welcome moment to moment.
And that is, I see, is one of the greatest barriers and blocks for humanity, to not be connecting with that or not be aware of that in itself, because I
Yes.
believe that probably most of us are walking around shallow breathing and gasping for air during the day.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel when I do it, when I'm in that place of just feeling who I am and knowing whose I am, and breathing from my chest or from my throat even, rather from the depths of me. And that's a habitual thing for many, isn't it, that keeps us very disconnected
So
from the essence of life.
what I found when working hands-on with people, if I look to correct their behavior, it doesn't, they'll change the behavior. They'll get it to be more what they think it should be. They shift their breathing from this place to that place. Instead of it doing it that way, they do it this way because that's better. It doesn't help them enter into, enrich, deepen, and fulfill their experience unless I guide what's called phenomenologically or experientially the noticing to then go into allowing, so you can discover how breathing wants to come on her own. Her, because she's feminine in all the gendered languages I know. And when you go from inviting to allowing, the further step of welcoming takes a concentrating and then an opening of concentrating awareness into more contemplative, ultimately fully open, with the most simple, direct, immediate experience of living breathing. So you're not correcting anything,
Mhm,
you're guiding an exploration
mhm.
and a learning exploration process so people can monitor and come to study, learn, and guide themselves so they get themselves out of the fix, change, correct mode, which is top down
Right.
manipulated doing, which is what we all do with breathing. We try to get it right. And so we try to get it right, and then we get it right, but we don't always get it right. And you stay inside a detached, observing doer rather than a full co-creator with all that is. So it's wonderful to start with breathing. And what I found that works is guiding people into becoming their own guide. Invite, allow, welcome. And when you can welcome breathing to breathe you, needing to use words recursively, reciprocally, to get the interrelating of you and breathing breathing you, then invite, allow, welcome breathing to move you the way we did when we're infants, where your chest, the middle of your chest goes up and around toward your dominant hand as you breathe in, and down and back to the middle as you breathe out, and up and around to the other side as you breathe in the other way. And this takes a lot of practice to be able to have breathing not only breathe but move you. And then I'll skip ahead that I don't do. I don't skip ahead so fast on the tape that's free on my website. You invite, allow, welcome breathing to breathe you, move you, and then fill you with living vibrance, which you can then discover doesn't stay inside a boundary like your skin. If you close your eyes and experience the enhanced, vibrant, reverberating that happens from breathing and moving and filling you, you discover concretely, experientially, that living vibrance has no boundary, no limit. So the idea that we're the cosmos, it doesn't have to remain an idea. You can actually get it concretely by including the data that mainstream science leaves out. Mainstream science only gets the data of 5 senses. It doesn't include the 6th sense that has them all. Aristotle's famous line, you only know that sugar is white and sweet because both the taste and the sight refer to one encompassing 6th sense. When you cultivate this 6th sense, as breathing breathes, moves, and fills you with vibrance, and you discover, it's not just a head trip that the cosmos is alive. You can't find an end to it. And then every moment comes anew. What's that? It happens in no time. How can you tell that something's no time? How do you get timelessness unless somehow you got timelessness as a capacity? Oh, you get a mirroring echo in every timeless moment of your own timelessness. Oh, wow. Very good. You get a grounded experience of being divine, cosmic, uniquely invaluable, heavenly messenger. Unique because you're someone, not anybody else. You're some of this one. And to have an experience of this as a daily basis is like, oh, thank you. Concretize in a way that's immediate.
Wow.
What is immediate? The way you know you're you. You don't have to think about it. Concrete, like how you know you're hot or cold. There's no mediating agency. You get hot or cold directly, right? So you can get harmonizing's fruits directly. Concretely. And directly, it's how you enter your hand to move your fingers. You don't just send messages from your brain. That physiology can't explain how quickly virtuosi can move their fingers in violins and piano. You're in your fingers when you move them well. You're in there. It's not just nerve firings. Same thing. You can enter the experience directly of localizing boundlessness, temporalizing eternity in each moment of harmonizing. Well, Laura, you sit still for all of this. That's pretty
Thank
cool.
you so much. Wow, I did. And I'm taking it all in because I can refer to it from experiences
Wonderful.
that I've had that
Of
have been
course you
direct
can.
experiences.
Of
And so
course. And not it.
I can
Right.
feel what you're saying, and what I like is that you're offering a process that, or it's not just a process, a way of understanding ourselves that can be used every single day or whenever we want to, and coming away from this idea that the prayer is a logical explanation for something within the infinite, which is illogical anyway, and really centering into the breath and the movement and our heart space and knowing who we are, then really there are no words needed, because there we are within it. The word is just I am.
And as I said at the beginning, when you shift from prayer as asking for a favor, like begging, to questioning that opens to receive, you can get that every bit of this, the gestures, this figure eighting, is also the very gentle soothing of the most expressive mamas caring for their infants. This is also what I call the hug of hugs. You send this hug into all your younger ones dating back to infancy. You soothe them patiently, gently, pleasurably, sensitively, so that the asking is, please help. Thanks with this.
It's beautiful.
And
And
you, Laura,
the
having
time that
having
you have
confessed to me,
taken. Oh, thank
you have,
you.
well, I want to say to you,
It's
I want to
beautiful.
acknowledge you told me that you spent 10 years studying metaphysically what happened to you and all the openings. And so I know from my 5 decades of philosophical studies, East and West, that what I've become able to articulate is going to be a particularly welcome addition to you fleshing out all your studies.
Yes, it already
Yes,
is. It already
very good.
is. And you being here is very profound for me. And I'm
Wonderful.
praying and knowing, not from the begging and the asking, from the knowing and affirming that
Hmm.
those that are listening and watching right now, welcome in. You've landed on the right page here
Oh,
on your
wonderful.
social
I'm
media
so
feed
glad. I'm
with,
so
with our
glad.
super guest, Artie Vipperla. Italian. Do you have Italian in
No,
your
Vipperla
lineage?
is Hindi for loving wisdom. Vipperla.
Oh, I
Hmm.
see. That's beautiful. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. It just
Hmm.
sounds
Yeah.
quite Mediterranean. Beautiful.
Vipperla. Hey, Vipperla. Yeah, I can understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I go to Italy,
So
I
I
can
want to
pass for
ask
Italian.
you, you can. So I'd really love to invite you, Artie. I don't know if this is possible right now. If you would be willing to maybe a 2 or minute idea of your process or your awakening experience with with me, with those who are watching, for a couple of minutes to kind of demonstrate your kind of entering into or becoming more aware of the divine as you, as the cosmos within you, through breath work and motion.
You would like me to articulate as I enter into harmonizing so I can share from the inside out? Is
Yeah,
that
just
what you're asking?
if that's possible, if you would like to do that just for a couple of minutes, not too extended, just to get the idea of what you are actually sharing right now, kind of in a process, in that 2 minutes of you entering into that state of breath work. Maybe those can just be with you with this right now.
This is a new request, and I'm usually very, very open to new. And I'm just wondering whether, given everything I've said, whether there is some way that invitation could be something valuable for people, some way that I could have it be valuable. What I
Is
usually
there
demonstrate.
maybe a link to? Yeah.
Oh, I have a longer video on my website. People can get the free video where they can go and they can get my guidance
Okay.
through it.
There
Yeah,
we
they
are.
can get
That's
that.
all.
That
That's really all I want, so that people can
what
access it.
what people are usually surprised to see is what I did with you before we went on, where I said, "Oh, let's see your history." I don't recall all the background, but then I felt your spiritual energy from when you're birthed and at age 10, 20, 30, 40, and then I struck age 50 and I noticed, wow, did you ever grow in your crown energy between 40 and 50? And then I checked your heart and I found the same pattern. I said, wow, something happened between 40 and 50. And you said, yes, I had a huge awakening at 47. That's possible to do. I am, like I said, very smart, but I'm not Einstein. This ability ripened in my early 60s when I checked my own trauma work. I was a national expert in trauma, right? And I discovered that my original symptoms were out here, and they were greatly reduced. Anything else? Yeah, right. Where is it now? Huh? What? Is there some other kind of trauma? Yeah. Where is it now? Out here? There's something I've missed totally? Yes. I was able to surprise myself in the true spirit of science that the expert discovers there's something he's totally ignorant about by reading energetically. And I can check
Right.
your optimal level of vitamin A, your actual level, less than optimal. Optimal level of vitamin B, less than optimal. Optimal level of vitamin C is fine. Optimal level of vitamin D, you got that. Optimal level of vitamin E, less than optimal. Calcium, less than optimal. Magnesium, less than optimal. Trace minerals, less than optimal. Omega
Oh,
3s, you got plenty
oh,
omega 3s. Omega 6s, good, nice and
oh.
low. So the amount of sugar in your blood, nice and low. How much inflammation? Nice and low. Oh, very good. See, that kind of subtle energy literacy. I also have videos on YouTube about subtle energy literacy demonstrating. This is what allowed me to determine, first of all, that I was missing something horrible. I mean, huge. And then when the revelation came, to check and see energy doubling within minutes, underlying trauma went from there down a little. Nothing else I ever tried did that. So all of what I have discovered has been validated repeatedly by energy reading before I go on and teach it. So that's probably what's
Right.
most valuable to share with people, that not just
Yes,
harmonizing,
definitely.
but the level of discernment that had to develop in order to monitor it, and also to determine that your aura and the time we've been together has gone from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 50 feet out to now it's out 100, 1,000 feet out. In your usual prayer practice, you
Really?
go from 10, 20, 30 to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You go out about 10 feet when you usually go into prayer. What just happened in the time we've been together, because of the way my energy shares and draws out yours, you've gone out 1,000 times, 1,000 feet. That's usually what happens when I meet with people. And when I share with them this practice and they do
Okay.
it, they can double daily. Doubling daily for 10 days is a
Okay.
thousand-fold increase. Doubling daily for 20 days is a million-fold. Doubling daily for 30 days is a billion. Yes, we grow galactic in our energetic expanse. We realize our cosmic nature energetically. And when you learn how to read energy quantitatively, you can validate that for yourself. This is science. You don't have to believe, test and see. That's part of the revelation of this.
Oh, wow. Artie, we need you here doubling us daily on New Thought Media Network.
No, I need you to enroll in my course so you get the support to
There you are.
harmonize on your own and you will grow daily
Yes.
on your own, and you will spread it to the
Okay.
whole network. That's the way this is. Not me. This ain't mine. This is mine to pass on and
That's the way
share.
to do it.
Okay?
No.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I'm going to put your website up here. That's amazing.
Great.
So here is your website. Before we have about
Good.
2 minutes or 3 minutes left, I just want to share this. People can see where to find you, where you are.
Good.
And Artie Vipperla, PhD. I think it's coming up. It should be coming up. My screen's a little slow.
I see. Yeah, I can see it.
www.
Harmonize.
You'll see it there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there is your book. And there are your offerings, courses, mentoring.
Right.
People can have one-on-one
Yes.
experiences with you where you share this and optimize and double them up daily. And there are people on here that have given amazing testimonials. I know, and I've been on their workshops, so I know that how we found each other is so divinely guided, which I just love that. So guided. So please go and check out our site, and I'm just going to look here to see if there's anything else. Your book, courses, there are courses available where you can go and be with Artie and learn from him so that you can do all of this for yourself rather than having to rely on a person, because that's the truth of this, is we need to learn it for ourselves. So there's a lot there, and I'll let people
thank you.
Harmonize all of you with all.com. Thank you for being here today, Artie, and for sharing your prayer.
So rewarding. You know, giving is receiving, and to be able to give so much to someone in a setting so receptive, open, inviting is utterly joyous. Thank you, Laura, and all of you listening, gazing, whatever, at whatever state here. You know, there are ways to get this. I don't like to use the word broken, or the phrase broken down, opened up to be more accessible in the book and the courses. Yes.
Yes. Wonderful. And of course, Artie has set forth a tremendous movement that is now unfolding absolutely perfectly. So I'm just really excited to know you, Artie, and to learn more about what you're doing, and to look at your courses as well, and to see how I can double my aura, my field. And so, and I also, of course, New Thought Media Network is Center for Spiritual Living Ministry. We're here every day doing incredible things. We have a donate button. You are welcome to know that the divine is your source, and know that in your heart, and to share your treasure with the network, to empower yourself, knowing you are also doubling up with the vision of this network to reach more people with teachings, truth and wisdom and light and love. So we all remember who we are and why, reason that we're here, purpose here at this time, to know love. So there you are. There's the donate button. And thank you again, Artie, for being here today. Love and blessings to you.
Yes, you're so welcome, and I thank you.
Thank you, Artie. Until next time, stay tuned in. ntmedia.org.
Great.
Stay tuned in. We have practical prayer coming up in a moment on the network. Be the love.